You have been found guilty of the heinous crime of murder in the first degree. The evidence against you is overwhelming, and there is no doubt in my mind that you committed this atrocious act. Therefore, I have no choice but to sentence you to the punishment prescribed by law, which is death by electrocution.
Emily had always been an innocent woman. She had never done anything wrong in her life. She had never even received a speeding ticket. But that didn't matter to the court, who had convicted her of a crime she didn't commit. Emily had been found guilty of murdering her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. The evidence was circumstantial at best, but the jury had convicted her anyway. Despite her protests of innocence, the judge had sentenced her to death by electric chair. The day of the execution was a cold, gray day. Emily had been given a chance to make a final statement, but she was too upset to say anything. She just sat there, staring at the ground. The guards led her to the electric chair and strapped her in. Emily was shaking with fear, but she knew she was innocent. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end. The executioner pulled the switch, and Emily felt a jolt of electricity run through her body. It was the most intense pain she had ever felt. But then, something strange happened. The electricity seemed to stop, and Emily opened her eyes. She wasn't dead. The executioner was confused, and the guards were shouting. Emily was still alive. They quickly unstrapped her from the chair and took her to a hospital. It turned out that the electric chair had malfunctioned. Emily had been saved by a technical error. But when the news spread, people were outraged. They demanded that Emily be executed again, this time with a working chair. Emily was put on trial again, and this time, the evidence proved her innocence. But it was too late. Emily had already been sentenced to death once, and the trauma of the experience had taken a toll on her. She died in prison, still an innocent woman, but forever labeled a criminal. Years later, people would tell stories about the ghost of Emily, still trapped in the electric chair. They said that on quiet nights, you could hear her screams echoing through the halls of the prison. And some people claimed to have seen her ghostly figure, still strapped into the chair, forever trapped in a nightmare of wrongful conviction and execution. As the years went by, the legend of Emily's ghost grew stronger. People began to avoid the prison where she had been executed, fearing her vengeful spirit. But one night, a group of teenagers dared each other to break into the abandoned prison and see if the stories were true. They laughed and joked as they made their way through the dark, musty halls. As they approached the room where the electric chair was kept, the air grew colder and their laughter faded. Suddenly, they heard a faint humming noise, like electricity crackling. They pushed open the door to the execution room and saw a faint, ghostly figure sitting in the chair. It was Emily, her eyes wide with terror and her mouth open in a silent scream. The teenagers tried to run, but the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them in the room with the ghostly apparition. The humming noise grew louder, and suddenly the lights flickered and went out. In the darkness, the teenagers felt a cold, clammy hand on their shoulders. They screamed and ran blindly, tripping over each other in their haste to escape. When they finally emerged from the prison, they were pale and shaking. They never spoke of what they had seen that night, but they never forgot it either. And the legend of Emily's ghost continued to haunt the abandoned prison, scaring off anyone who dared to enter its walls. The next day, the news of the teenagers' encounter with Emily's ghost spread like wildfire throughout the town. People whispered about it in hushed tones, and parents warned their children to stay away from the prison. But there was one person who didn't believe in the legend of Emily's ghost, a young journalist named Lily. She saw the story as an opportunity to make a name for herself in the industry, and she was determined to get to the bottom of it. Lily went to the prison, determined to find out the truth about Emily's ghost. As she walked through the dark, eerie halls, she felt a chill run down her spine. But she pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth. She made her way to the room where the electric chair was kept and found the door slightly ajar. She pushed it open and saw the chair sitting in the middle of the room, empty and silent. Lily was about to leave when she heard a faint humming noise, like electricity crackling. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, and the room went dark. Lily felt a cold, clammy hand on her shoulder, and she spun around, but there was no one there. She tried to open the door, but it was stuck fast. Suddenly, the humming noise grew louder, and Lily saw a faint, ghostly figure in the chair. It was Emily, her eyes wide with terror and her mouth open in a silent scream. Lily tried to scream, but no sound came out. She was frozen with fear, watching as the ghostly apparition grew brighter and brighter. But then, as suddenly as it had started, the humming noise stopped, and the lights flickered back on. The door opened, and Lily stumbled out into the hallway, gasping for breath. As she left the prison, Lily knew that she had found the story of a lifetime. The legend of Emily's ghost was real, and she had the proof to back it up.